In today's lesson, we're going to learn John Mayer's first solo from the July 2016 Sugaree with Dead and Company. I've broken the solo down into 4 licks, and I'll show you how to play each one, and we'll talk about Mayer's approach and the music theory behind each one. Make sure you visit amarguitar.com and check out the related article for this lesson. It's got all of the tabs, chord diagrams, scale patterns, and arpeggio shapes that I'll be discussing in this lesson. So let's start off with lick number 1. Let's do that slowly. So for the first part of this lick, Mayer is playing right out of the B major pentatonic scale. Let's play that scale. And our root B is right there, and right there also. Those are our 2 roots in that position. So this whole part, all of those notes, again, right out of the B major pentatonic scale. So for the next part of the lick, he's playing notes right out of the E major scale in the C shape. Let's play that. And we've got 2 roots in this position. We've got an E right there, and an E right there. So, what's important about this is that Mayer is not playing some random notes out of the E major scale. As soon as the chord changes to E, he very purposefully targets the 3rd of E major, which is right there. So let's look at the chord tones of E in this part of the neck. So we've got 3rd, 5th, root, 3rd, 5th, root, 3rd, 5th. So, like I mentioned, he targets the 3rd. So, right there, the chord changes to E, and he plays the 3rd. So that's why that sounds really good, is because he's targeting that chord tone. So he also lands on the 9th of E, which is F sharp. So he goes right there. So he lands on the 9th of E, and that creates a little bit of tension, and it wants to be resolved. And he resolves it by playing 3 more notes out of the E major scale. And then when the chord changes to B, he lands on the 3rd of B. Right there. That is the 3rd of B. So let's talk about the chord tones of the B major arpeggio in this shape, which is the G shape. So we've got root, 3rd, 5th, root, 3rd, 5th, root. So, one of my buddies went to see Mayer's band play last week at the old Knickerbocker Arena in Albany, and as a new fan, he had a really great comment that I'd like to share with you. He said, I never realized how sick his solos are. So simple, it's like he's singing. And I'm mentioning this because lick number 1 and pretty much the whole solo has that vocal quality. It's very emotional and it's very expressive. And there's one big secret about this approach that most guitar players either don't know or they don't use. And that brings us to our first takeaway, which is to take a deep breath before you start your solo. This will immediately cause you to be more conscious of the next phrase that you're about to play. Now, if you watch the performance video of this Sugaree, which I'll post in the description, you can see that Mayer is pausing and breathing not just for the first lick, but throughout the entire solo itself. And of course, this is not a technique that is by any means exclusive to John Mayer. A lot, if not all, of the great players do this. And as guitar players, we often tend to think from our fingers. But we can see that Mayer is not just running scales, he's not just running arpeggios, he is feeling and hearing the notes before he plays them. And taking those deep breaths definitely helps with that. So if you start consciously breathing between your phrases, you'll notice that you'll immediately sound more purposeful and focused, just like John's lines do in this solo. So let's play this lick again slowly. Lick number 2. Let's try that slowly. So for the first part of this lick, Mayer outlines the G shape of B, which we talked about in the first lick. And he starts from the third of B and goes literally right up that shape. So third to the third. Then he goes, and right there, he plays the root of E when it changes to the E chord. So after the slide, he does this cool lick where he goes. So he plucks, slides back down, pulls off, and then a pull off on the G string. And in addition to fingering these notes, he also does a reverse rake with his right hand. So now, full disclosure, I only learned this solo a couple days ago, so it's going to take me some time to practice to get this lick right. But I can tell you that is what he's doing. And in terms of the right hand, I'm raking backwards from the B, G, and D strings. So in addition to doing that, we've also got the rake. So after that, he then plays some more notes out of the E major scale. So all out of the E major scale and also out of the E major scale. But what's important is that as soon as the chord changes to B, what does he do? He lands on the third of B. So that brings us to our second takeaway, which is to learn your chord tones. Every guitarist or musician that you would consider to be a melodic player has mastered the ability of playing chord tones in their solos. And this is another one of those foundations of the vocal style of guitar playing. So guitar players that have that vocal expressive quality, they're excellent at being able to target their chord tones in solos, and that's what helps make it sound so expressive. And make sure you check the link in the description for this article, because you'll see in that article you'll see a map of all of the chord tones for the B and E chords up and down the neck. And if you want to play a meaningful solo over Sugaree or any song that uses these chords, then you absolutely have to have these notes memorized all over the neck. So let's do the lick one more time. Lick number 3. Let's try that slowly. So in this lick, Mayer repeats a little bit of the last part of the previous lick. So we had, so in the last lick he goes, and he kind of repeats himself, but it puts a twist on it. So instead of doing that, he goes, plays an octave on the F sharp. So he goes, and it sounds great. And right there, when he goes, it changes to the E chord. So he slides up to the major third of E, and then plays the fifth of E. And then after that, we've got a lick that takes all of its notes right out of the E major pentatonic scale, which we haven't talked about yet. So let's do that now. So the lick is now he does slide up to the third, so that note G is not part of the E major pentatonic scale, but sliding up to the third, sliding up to the major third from a half step, like we're, is a very classic approach in so many different kinds of music, from country to jazz to you name it. So that's sliding up to the third. Again, this note G is not part of that E major pentatonic scale, but for our purposes, we just consider it kind of an approach tone. Now, speaking of this lick, I'm about 90% sure that this is a Jerry lick that Mayer lifted. I swear that I've heard Garcia use this exact lick, particularly in one of the Europe 72 recordings. Unfortunately, I don't have the time this week to dig through all 70 CDs in the Europe box set to prove that, so you'll just have to take my word for it, or not, whatever. So let's play this lick one more time slowly. Oh, I almost forgot to mention the ghost note. You can see that in the tab there is one note that has parentheses around it, and that's because Mayer barely plays it, so he goes, so that ghost note, again, it goes by really quickly, you can barely hear it, but it's there. So just keep that in mind when you're practicing. You can play that note like it's a regular note. It'll still sound great. So it's totally up to you, but just want to throw that in there. So let's move on to lick number 4. Lick number 4. Let's try that slowly. So for this lick, we've got some more notes that are right out of the E major scale. So notice that John targets the 3rd of E, and also then the 3rd of B. So right there. So 3rd of E, 3rd of B. So the 3rd is often the sweetest chord tone for in a lot of instances, like it is in this one. And that's why this lick sounds so melodic. And in fact, the whole solo, we talked about it over and over, that he plays the 3rd multiple times. He lands right on it when the chord changes, and that helps make it sound extra melodic. So there's also another technique that he uses over the B chord. So he goes. So with that slide, he plays the just a little bit behind the beat. So what he doesn't do is he doesn't go da da do da da da. He doesn't go da da. So he goes da da do da da da. It's kind of exaggerated. It's a little bit slower and drawn out, and it really adds to the soulfulness. Again, it would have sounded great. It would have sounded great if he did play him right on the beat, but again, laying back just a little bit just makes it groove so much harder. And that brings us to our 3rd takeaway, which is to learn how to play behind the beat. All of the blues masters, and I mean literally all of them, have developed a keen ability to play just behind the beat, especially over slow tunes like this one. And for most of us, this takes an extremely long time to master because it's a very subtle thing. And in my opinion, the easiest and fastest way to learn it, to learn this technique, is to listen to the great players do it and try to mimic it with your guitar. And that's partly why I chose to learn this solo, is because it specifically includes that kind of just behind the beat feel on this lick, which sounds really cool and is really the mark of a great player. So, by helping you guys become better guitar players, I'm helping myself too. I know it's selfish. So when you're practicing, listen to what he's doing over that, and just hear how it's, again, just a little bit behind the beat, and how it sounds really bluesy and really soulful. It's a really old technique, and it's still very relevant. And I know he's not consciously thinking, all right, I'm going to play this just behind the beat. Again, he's feeling and hearing the notes in his head before he plays them. That's why, again, it's so expressive. He's not just running scales. He's not just noodling. It's very, every note is very purposeful because he's hearing it and then he's playing it. So for the final part of this lick, he goes. So what is that? That is, again, right up the G shape of the B chord. And instead of playing the 3rd here, he plays the 3rd here. And the 3rd, again, right there, is kind of the middle of your big old bar chord. And then he goes. So what these are is he's pretty much playing the A shape of E. So that's basically, that lick is out of that shape. And he does a little and what's interesting about this is he's playing an E shape while it's still the B chord. So it's still, and he goes, sorry. Which is why it sounds pretty different from any of the licks we've done in this solo, because he's kind of playing notes of E over B, which is pretty cool. Of course, we've got some common tones between the E and the B chord, because the B note right there is the 5th of E. It's also the root of B. So after the little, again, he's got the triplet pull-off, which is a classic Jerryism. It's a hallmark of Jerry's playing, as you've probably heard many times. So after the little E-shape lick, he goes. So what that is it's a 1/4 superimposition, and it sounds complicated, but you can hear that it is not complicated at all. And what a 1/4 superimposition is, basically it just means that you've got your 1 chord, which is E, and you play a rootless 4 chord over it. Very, very classic sound. And what we've got the G shape of E. And then we've got the C shape of A. But again, he doesn't play a full A chord. Again, he plays a rootless A chord, which means no root. Again, you can see how these notes are right out of the A shape, but again, take away the root. Again, it's really very common sound. You've probably heard, for example, in G, if we were in the key of G, you've got your G chord, and then what's the 4 of G? It is C. So again, I'm not playing the root of the C. So it's that kind of sound. But again, since we're in E, he does it up here. So let's play the lick one more time. So now we've talked about every note and concept that Mayer plays in this killer solo. So how do we put it all together? Before we talk about that, I'm going to ask you to please like this video and subscribe to my channel if you enjoyed it. If you have any requests for other solos or songs, please leave them in the comments below. So, how do we put all these licks together? YouTube has a great feature that allows you to slow down the speed of videos without changing the pitch. At the time of filming this lesson, this speed feature is currently available on the desktop browser version of YouTube only, so if you're watching this on a mobile device such as a smartphone or a tablet, you will need to switch to an actual desktop or laptop computer for this one. So your homework is to scroll to the beginning of this video and then click the gear symbol and then the 50% speed button and play along with the solo. Once you feel comfortable with the 50% speed and that you could play along with minimal mistakes, then go ahead and try the 75% speed setting and play along to it. Again, try to play it as cleanly as you can and try to match exactly what Mayer's doing. And then once you can do that, try it at full speed. And some of you may find this solo challenging, but I promise you, you can learn how to play it if you follow those steps. So, thank you for watching, and remember to like, subscribe, and comment below, and also check out amarguitar.com for more lessons like this one. See you guys next time.